today we are going to move towards a very interesting poem. And here you go, childhood, bachpan. Today, even as you are in grade 11, don't you miss those days of childhood? You want those childhood days back. You were so carefree. You had no responsibilities, no big projects to make, nothing to worry about. Yeah, that is childhood. And the way, the quality days that you had, how you really spent them, defines your childhood. So let's see what Marcus Nathan has to tell us about the childhood. Marcus Nathan was a Norwegian poet. He wrote a poem, Childhood. In this poem, he tries to find out when he lost his childhood. Do we have a particular day when we lose our childhood, just like it's your birthday? Is there any particular day? No, it's a very gradual process. But then in the bargain, you don't get to know, you don't even realize when the childhood went and when you became a youngster. Through his poem, he wrote that people do not live the lives that they preach. You know, sometimes people do preaching. They tell you, they just don't live it, right? So you are supposed to preach what you teach. It's like that. In the last stanza of his poem, Childhood, the poet changes the question when to where and answers it has gone into hiding. So when you now read the poem, you shall realize how beautiful was childhood, and when it really disappeared, we just don't come to know. So I shall read it, and as always, I want you to ponder over it. Yes, and of course, if there is a rhyme scheme, you have to tell me. So, when did my childhood go? Was it the day I ceased to be 11? Was it the time I realized that hell and heaven could not be found in geography and therefore could not be? Was that the day? When did my childhood go? Was it the time I realized that adults were not all they seemed to be? They talked of love and preached of love, but did not act so lovingly. Was that the day? When did my childhood go? Was it when I found my mind was really mine, to use whichever way I choose, producing thoughts that were not those of other people, but my own and mine alone? Was that the day? Where did my childhood go? It went to some forgotten place that's hidden in an infant's face. That's all I know. Beautiful. If you really realized what the whole thing is all about, you must have understood. But if not, here is the theme. In childhood, the poet thinks deeply over the question of his lost childhood. Childhood is a stage of innocence in which the child believes others and loves unconditionally. See, for a child, he goes to everybody. He has no problem whether it is a Hindu or a Muslim, whether he's rich or he's poor, whether he is black or white. Be it anybody, the child just goes, he smiles, he laughs with everyone. It's all unconditional. The poet has tried to identify some stages of his life when his thoughts and perceptions of the world changed. The poem describes the first step to maturity or loss of childhood when one is able to think logically and rationally. Now, when you actually, start thinking with a logic behind it, whatever you are thinking, when it's very rational, yes, maybe that is the day you have actually grown and your childhood has moved. The poem also hints at the hypocrisy prevalent in our society. Now, what's hypocrisy? When you start pretending to believe what you really don't believe. That's what we actually do. normally, in quite a few cases, where people pretend to be nice to each other, but in reality, they do not like each other. So it's, just the fake smile. It's very artificial. In your heart, there is something else, but your face, your smile, you gift each other, and internally you have all the anger, all the hatred, all the jealousy. Why? Why not talk it out? Why fake it? Why artificial? This is what the poet is trying to tell us. So yes, as always, we have the definitions of all the poetic devices, right? All the poetic devices which you shall find in this poem. So we know alliteration, it is the repetition of the consonant sound, the first letter. That's your alliteration. Antithesis, it is an exaggerated statement to bring out the desired effect. You shall see with an example further down. Enjambment, it is the practice of running lines of poetry from one to the next without using any kind of punctuation to indicate a stop. So you have a continuation of the line, right? From one line to the next without a punctuation. Litotes, its understatement is used to emphasize a point, stating a negative to further affirm a positive. Now this again you shall understand with an example. Repetition, we know a repetition of words to secure emphasis. So you have the repetition of the same words in the same line. That's your repetition. So let's move further. Now we shall first discuss lines 1 to 6. Yeah, let's make this clear. You shall get your meanings, then you shall get your explanation and the poetic devices involved. So let's move on. When did my childhood go? Was it the day I ceased to be 11? Ceased as in I stopped to be 11. Was it the time I realized that hell and heaven could not be found in geography? Geography, we are all aware, study of places and their relationship with people. You have it as, you've studied it as a subject, and therefore could not be. Was that the day? Right? We got the meanings right here. Let's get to the explanation. So the poet wonders when he lost his childhood. He reflects that perhaps it was the day when he crossed the age of 11. He felt maybe that was the day he lost his childhood. Maybe it was the stage when he realized that the concepts of hell and heaven about which he had been taught since his childhood did not exist in reality. So, when you are young children, so the parents, for your benefit, they tell you, yeah, if you speak a lie, you will go to to hell. And if you speak the truth, you shall go to heaven. Yeah. So, you build that there are two places, okay? There is hell and there is heaven. But when you grow up, you actually realize that no such places exist in reality. There is nothing of the sort. Geography textbooks did not give the location of any such places. Do we have in any atlas, in any map, where it is hell and where it is heaven? No. The poet realizes that he might have lost his childhood when he gained his rational outlook due to getting educated. When he got educated, he realized many things. He realized the viewpoint, his way of seeing things, his way of analyzing things had changed. Why? Because the knowledge imparted, the knowledge that he got, from school, it changed his viewpoint. He started seeing things from a different angle, with a different viewpoint. So he feels maybe that was the day I lost my childhood. So yeah, you have antithesis here. Was it the time I realized that hell and heaven? Now hell and heaven, they are contradictory, right? We know that very well. So here to give emphasis, we are talking of hell and heaven in the same line, and because it is, a statement giving contradictory, yes, it is antithesis. Let's move further to the next set of lines, lines 7 to 12. When did my childhood go? Was it the time I realized that adults were not all they seemed to be? They talked of love and preached of love. They taught, they advocated a belief. They preached, but did not act so lovingly. Was that the day? Was that the day they realized when people spoke of love, but they only spoke? It was only in their words. It was not in their action. They did not really love each and every one unconditionally. You see the explanation further? The poet reflects that maybe the loss of childhood occurred when he was able to see through the hypocrisy of adults. Again, to pretend to believe what they don't really believe. Yeah? These people followed double standards, actually following and preaching different standards of behavior. With me, you are A, with another person, you're B. You have double standards. You're playing double games. With someone, you are something else. You behave strangely. Maybe you behave in a very positive manner. With others, behind your back, you're negative. So that's how double standards are done. They told the poet to be loving and caring. However, they themselves were argumentative, violent, and discourteous. You're telling something else. It's very well said. When children are growing up, they do not learn what you teach them. They learn what they see. What they see happening in front. So whatever the condition, whatever the atmosphere of the house is, the children learn from